I went to California, you know, and also even when I was in the reserves, even though I was stationed at Charleston Naval Base, when I did my summer duty, while everybody else did theirs in North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, so they can be home on the weekends. I came to California, so in fact, I hitchhiked. I hitchhiked to California from South Carolina in '79 just to see the movie Big Wednesday.
Wow.
So I guess I was hooked on surfing. It could be a very addictive passion, and coming to California in 1982, stationed at 29 Palms, is when I actually bought my first decent surfboard. And being out here in California, I never really incurred the resistance here in Orange County, California, Newport Beach especially. So I had a lot of people who supported me out here because they were freaking out. Even here, they never saw any blacks in the water. So I became like an anomaly, and I'm an honorary member of. So everybody wants me to be a member of their club so they can say they have a black in their, longboard club. But I surf shortboards mostly. But I broke my neck at the Wedge. I don't know if you're all familiar with the Wedge, but the Wedge. Most people don't know this. The Wedge is the area in Balboa Peninsula and Newport Beach. More paraplegics are created at the Wedge than any place else on the planet. Because they don't tell you that because that ruins tourism for Newport Beach. But the Wedge is one of those waves that dumps you right into the sand if you don't know what you're doing. And I was on active duty at the time, so I had a hairline fracture in my neck from an incident at the Wedge. Couldn't talk about it because then I would be medically discharged from the Marine. In fact, as I'm talking to you right now, I can feel it. But so I had to wear those heavy Marine Corps helmets while training for desert warfare and stuff at 29 Palms with this hairline fracture. That was probably one of my worst experiences out here. But as far as the racism, nah, I never saw it here in California. I see it now, not that Trump's in the White House, but no, back then, no. However, I will say it's not so much a racism thing. I mean, you got some localism out here in California, too, like places down in Palos Verdes where rich white kids live. They don't care what your color is. If you don't live there, don't surf there. And there's a place in Oxnard, California, that only has like 150 yards of break, so they're very territorial there. But for the most part, I've been accepted, and now haven't been out here for the last 3 decades. I mean, I think a lot more people know who I am than I realize.
Did any of your family members follow?
Who am I talking to?
You know who you're talking to.
Introduce yourself to the audience.
That's right.
This is Susan. I'm sitting in for Ambezi. Did any of your family members follow in your footsteps?
As far as surfing?
Uh-huh.
No.
No?
No, I'm the only one, and I've always been a renegade or a lone wolf, so I'm not surprised. I've done all the crazy things in life. I guess I'm an adrenaline freak, because adrenaline junkie is a color, because I did the mountain climbings and the jumping out of helicopters and airplanes, motorcycle, jeeps, all the things that we colored folks aren't supposed to do, Mm-hmm. So I've always been like a lone wolf when I'm going out to these different outside adventure things. And
to cancel, press star.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, I'll press star.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that question, though, because
To listen to your message,
I was hoping that my son would have gone into it, but he was more of a skateboarder than surfer.
Wow.
That's something.
I've got too many injuries now, though, folks, so all those extreme sports that I was involved with, bungee jumping and everything else, has caught up with me, and that's why I live vicariously now through my female surfers who I coach. Still skateboard, though, but I can't surf anymore. My rotator cuff is gone.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. So
well, also the LAPD didn't help either. I was on Thanksgiving Day. I remember just sending out a message on a computer telling all my officers, "You will go home on time to your families tonight." And seconds after I sent that message, drunk guy ran the red light and hit me at the intersection and destroyed. I had a car with like 5 miles on it. Destroyed that LAPD brand new car, but I wore my seatbelts. Folks, wear your seatbelts and shoulder belts. Saved my life, but that shoulder belt did a real damage on my left shoulder. So,
wow,
I feel it now.
Wow. So Thin Bad, I know that you had quite a very rich and storied past in terms of your knowledge of the civil rights movement, particularly in Baltimore. and so
Sinbad surfed.
Yeah, he did.
No.
He was a surfer.
No.
But I understand Sinbad is from the Carolinas.
Yeah, I'm in Carolina now, but I was from Baltimore, but originally, but no, I skateboarded. I did a little skateboarding, and weird thing, my father would buy these crazy gifts, so he got me. I didn't know what the hell it was at the time, but it was like a what is it? A sail cart or something. I don't know what it was, but it needed a sail. Where are you going to get a wind in Baltimore City, to blow you down the street?
Dude, your dad was way ahead of his time, and you don't even realize it, man.
Oh yeah, he was way ahead of his time, but I got joked so hard.
I bet you did.
It's like, what is he going to do with that thing?
Well,
But
now,
it-
what part of North Carolina are you in?
I'm in Greensboro now.
Okay, yeah,
I'm in
so I'm
Greensboro.
familiar with that. The reason I'm saying that is because, see, I was also into skateboarding,
Okay.
and Mike asked earlier about anybody who inspired me, and I have to give credit there. We as black folks a lot of time are so quick to talk about other folks, but I'm going to tell you something, okay?
Mhm.
In my entire career, like with LAPD, when I incurred racism, there were no black folks who helped me. It was decent white folks who helped me. In the Marine Corps, please, how many black Marine Corps? There are less black Marine Corps officers today than when I became a commissioned officer in 81.
True story.
But when I incurred racism in the Marine Corps, there were no blacks who helped me. It was decent white folks who helped me. I say that because going back to the question earlier about who inspired me, in Charleston, South Carolina, you had a guy named Andy Benke and Jimmy Carroll. Both of them have actually been going on to political careers over east of the Cooper and Sullivan's Isle of Palms. And those guys always encouraged me. And you were talking about your skateboarding. One of the things, it's amazing. God wanted me to be alive because I should be dead a long time ago. But on the skateboard, one of the things I would do, Andy would drive his car, and I would ride alongside of his car on my skateboard until he got to about 60 miles an hour. Then he would slam on the brakes, and then I would go forward. And there have been a lot of people who've died trying to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're saying, now I'm from Johns Island, okay, and I take it seriously about our African heritage as far and also as our Native American heritage. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the development I see in Seabrook Island and Kiowa Island. Well, Seabrook Island is one of these areas where they've taken that land and turned it into this major resort. And when I was in college, I used to be notorious, and this sorority stole the first flag from Seabrook Island. Well, I have that flag now. And I'm saying this going back to what your father gave you as a gift because I was actually using that flag to blow me when the wind was high in South Carolina during hurricanes while I was riding my skateboard.
Wow.
And that was like back in 1979.
Wow.
Yep. This was mid 70s when he had the little thing, had a little 3-wheeled. It'd have been great somewhere where there was a lot of wind, and if I'd known what the heck was going on. But...
Exactly. If you knew then what you knew now.
Right.
And the thing about it is that skateboard that I was riding on was a stolen skateboard from Tony Alva. Now Tony Alva was the skateboarder of the year.
Right.
In 1979. And what happened was when I came out here for Marine Corps duty at Camp Pendleton, I had some friends who lived there in the Tustin area. They gave me the skateboard, not telling me that they had stolen it from his
Oh, great.
from where they manufactured the board. And what happened was he was making skateboards, and of course, once he puts his name on it, the skateboard was worth like $200, $300, and we're talking back in the mid-'70s. So what happened was they stole the skateboard before Tony's name went on the board, so it didn't say Tony Alva on it. But I took that skateboard, oh man, I rode in pools, parking garages, right on the side of cars. I became infamous at the College of Charleston skating where I wasn't supposed to be on a skateboard. Now, I wasn't thinking about it then, but now that I'm thinking about it and what you're talking about,
yep.
I never saw another black face on a skateboard.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, look, let me tell
Hell,
you.
in Charleston, you'd even see many white faces on a skateboard, man.
That's funny. So,
But I had a progressive skateboard because this skateboard was made in Orange County, California for Tony Alva, man.
Wow.
So it's interesting because you're in Greensboro, North Carolina. There's a magazine, a literary magazine in North Carolina called The Blotter.
Mm-hmm.
The Blotter actually had a photograph of me with that skateboard on the cover of this magazine, I believe, 3 years ago.
Oh.
wow. Well, look, let me bring it back to surfing.
Yes, sir.
Because, one of the things that I did want to know, Mike, is that, how did race relations influence surfing in Charleston or in South Carolina as a whole at the time that you were there?
Well, let's go back to race relationship and surfing to begin with.
Uh-huh.
Who invented surfing?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
I hope
Black
he does.
people.
No.
Now, one of the most famous
we can't
movies ever.
swim. What you talking about?
I know. Exactly.
That's
we
because
can't float.
that's why we can surf.
So, it's interesting because one of the most famous movies of all time is a movie called
what'd you say, Miss
Endless
Susan?
Summer.
What'd you say, Miss Susan?
Look, go ahead, Mike.
Hush your face.
So
Okay,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
movie Endless Summer, they have this one scene where these white boys give a surfboard to a little black child in Africa, and he gets up on a wave the first time he tried. Oh my God, white man brought surfing to Africa in 1960s. Well, that's a bunch of crap, folks. See, I deal with history, not his story. And it's really sad because in Hawaii right now, whites are called haoles, and a lot of whites get treated like crap by the native Hawaiians. But I'm going to tell you something. I get treated worse by the so-called native Hawaiians than I do by the haoles who are white, because the native Hawaiians are so ignorant they don't even know they're black. The first
True
queen,
story.
the first queen of Hawaii was a black. In fact, she's the last queen, the only queen, when the United States stole that land from her.
You mean by gunpoint?
Oh, more than gunpoint. But what I'm saying to you is the first permanent settlers in Hawaii were black Polynesians. So if you look at the Hawaiian flag, I do not recognize the Hawaiian flag. And it amazes me because even now when we have surf contests, Hawaiians will proudly put that flag around them because they don't consider themselves part of the United States. That's going to cause a major problem, by the way, because we got the Olympics coming up next year, and Hawaii's not going to be part of the Olympics because Hawaii's a part of the United States. So they're going to have to pretend to be United States. But anyway, my point is the Hawaiians don't even realize that's a British flag.
Wow.
That's the British East India Trade Company flag. For all you ignorant whites out there listening tonight, too, who will get all upset about the United States flag, the United States flag is nothing more than a damn British East India trading flag with 13 stars on it. That's what Betsy Ross did. And for you all who are not familiar with the British East India Trade Company, George Washington was a member selling land in this country. He liked to sell it to Native, the whites not knowing that Native Americans were going to kill them, and then he would sell the same land over and over again. That's how he made his money.
Wow.
So when you look at that Hawaiian flag today, you can clearly see the British symbol in it. I don't recognize that flag. The only flag from Hawaii I recognize is the green flag that was there before the British stopped allowing them to fly it. It was blacks in Hawaii that made surfing what it is today. And the most famous surfer of them all was the Duke.
Who was
the Duke didn't realize he
the
was
Duke?
black either until he came to California.
Now, who was the Duke? Give us a little background on the Duke.
Duke is considered the king of surfing.
I mean, what was his name?
Well, even I would be honest to tell you, for me to pronounce his last name is difficult, and I'm not
Okay.
going to embarrass his name by not pronouncing it correctly, so we
Understood.
just call him the Duke. And
Okay.
anybody who knows anything about surfing knows the name Duke. And today they have restaurants all over the world actually called Duke's Restaurant that has, honorary stuff on the walls about him. But he came out here to San Clemente, California, and Southern California. He was also a very good golfer. And, whites out here carried him around and he's considered the father of surfing because he introduced surfing to the mainland United States, bringing it here from Hawaii.
Wow.
In more recent years, a more famous black surfer was Buttons. Buttons unfortunately died a few years ago. And it's sad because if you look at biography on Buttons, they say Buttons is half black and half, half black and half Hawaiian. And I'm like, okay, that's redundant
Right.
because if he's Hawaiian, he's already
He's a
black.
Right.
Okay, but see, this is once again, we don't know our own history.
Right. Right.
So, Buttons was the son of a Native American, a Native Hawaiian, and his father was a black GI in the Army who was stationed over there.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of saying he's half black, half Hawaiian, they could just go say he's just a black. Okay, or he's a Hawaiian. But seriously, it's amazing because Hawaiians today talk their smack and their pride and don't even know they're Negroes.
Right. Right.
Now, I will give credit where credit's due. There is a very serious scholar out there named LeGrand Clegg. And LeGrand Clegg is the only person I know, besides maybe 4 other people, including myself, who has done serious research on surfing and knows that surfing came from black folks.